Good morning, Mississippi. Good morning, Mississippi. It's a great day to be a Mississippian. Thank you for the invitation to share some time with you here today at this historic venue. It's always a good day to be a Mississippian, and I'm proud that we're all gathered here today under this pavilion as we look toward a brighter future. Come today from the hometown, my hometown, Anguilla, Mississippi. Anguilla is about 117 miles west of here, down in the Delta. It was my privilege to serve as mayor of my hometown, where the population is right around 500. Now let me tell you something about being mayor of a small town that some of you probably don't know. You already know, perhaps maybe in a small town, that everybody knows everybody. But when you're the mayor of a small town, it kind of goes beyond that. Goes a little bit farther than that. Because everybody knows exactly where you live. And they know how to tell people who are looking for you exactly where you live. Not only do they know where you live, but they know what you eat, how much you eat. They even know where you go to church at. They even know when you go to the post office and when you walk your dog. And every now and again, I'll run across a neighbor who I may forget to speak to, who will remind me, I saw you at the post office and you didn't speak. Small town chronicles of a mayor. It doesn't matter what time of day or night that they come. They don't make an appointment to come see you at City Hall when you're a small town mayor. Their appointment is whenever they got a problem. They don't care what you're doing, who you're doing it with. If they got a problem, they're knocking at your door. And that becomes the appointment. But the reality of it is they're real people who are dealing with real problems. And anytime you're dealing with real people, with real problems, at your doorstep, you got to have a resolve, an immediate resolve. Oftentimes, at state level or federal level, that situation can be avoided. And I know this firsthand. Know it by experience that sometimes they can separate themselves from real people like you and me who may have a real problem. Sometimes they're behind gates, security detail, or maybe staff. They can distract people from the real problem by bringing up hot button social issues. Now imagine that, as if your problem is minute. I feel like if your problem is important to you, then it should be important to me. There's a song that I'm reminded of that goes a little something like this, and some of you may have heard it before. Try that in a small town, and we'll see how far it gets you. Earlier this year, shortly after I filed to run for state auditor, a massive tornado, which I'm sure you heard about, ripped through the Delta and several other cities and counties in this great state of Mississippi, leaving tragic death, devastation, and a mass of destruction in its wake. And our county seat, the neighboring town of Rolling Fork, was basically wiped off the map. So I was forced to put our campaign on hold so I could be a help with our local church becoming a FEMA drop-off point to make sure that individuals could just simply get basic needs like toiletry, diapers, milk for their babies, clothes. And I'm thankful for institutions like Dillard University and Xavier College and churches and nonprofits from Jackson and Louisiana who showed up out of the kindness of your heart. And I found out that you don't have to pay anybody to be nice to you. People are being nice to you. That's a blessing. There's nothing more remarkable in my doing than being able to help during the tornado, serving my country in the United States Army, seeing a couple of tours. There's nothing like when a devastation hits right at home and you're forced to deal with it. But the silver lining in the cloud is that Mississippians do face major tragedy, but some kind of way, you Mississippians come together and do remarkable feats. That's why I say it's good to be a Mississippian, to find people who will serve with their hearts and serve with their soul. I believe that Mississippians and this great state are on the list of being first when it comes to generosity. And again, I say nobody has to be nice. But the fact that you pull your resources together, the fact that you showed up from near and far to check on your neighbors, says a lot about the character and the integrity of Mississippians. The generous response after the tornado reminded me that there are good-hearted people here in the great state of Mississippi. When I began to think of the daily problems that many Mississippians face that don't even make headlines, don't make social media platforms. Ladies and gentlemen, after much prayerful consideration, in the light of tragedy and generosity, I've come to an inescapable conclusion that there is nothing wrong with Mississippi. That right in Mississippi can't fix. I want to say it again. There's no problem that is wrong in Mississippi. That when you're right in Mississippi, it can't be fixed. What is right with Mississippi, in case you didn't know, is the decency and the dignity within the hearts and minds of the people who live here, who work here, who serve here. What's wrong with Mississippi, oftentimes, is that we have a political class who far too often fails to appeal to those simple traditions. The strength of Mississippi, the decency of Mississippi, and the dignity of Mississippi. Too many politicians would rather harp on issues that divide us instead of unite us. But we have a day on November the 7th that we get to bring individuals together who are not interested in what separates us, but who will be interested in what can bring us together. The state auditor is supposed to be the people's watchdog over the public funds. The Department of Audit has a big job overseeing the billions of dollars collected and spent by state and local government each year. If the state auditor is doing that enormous job, then let me submit, it shouldn't leave much time for a whole lot of anything else. He recently issued a statistical report indicating that children tend to fare better that are a part of a two-parent household. I was really shocked. And I doubt that comes to any good news to any single parent who's out there. I grew up in a single-parent home, and I know the challenges firsthand. And I'm sure there are single parents who are out there in the audience even now who are not single by choice, but because of some tragic or unforeseen situation that may have occurred. And so the last thing then that we need is some ambitious, overzealous politician insulting us for the unavoidable reality that we face every day by telling us what we already know, so he can make a hot-button issue point with his political base. What does that divisiveness help? He has attacked our universities, our faculties, for working to include a broader spectrum of our population and the life-changing opportunities they provide. He finds diversity, equity, and inclusion to be among the national hot-button issues that he harps on to strengthen his standing with his voters base. Let me submit to you that he is so driven by ambition that he cannot admit better that we make an effort to bring everyone along the road towards success. Stop playing one group against the other for selfish political gain. Let me submit to you, he'll probably mention that his office cannot indict anybody. And that same mouth will also tout that 100% conviction rate as well. He has worked a lot of political campaigns, so double talk comes natural to him. He's even managed the last campaign of his mentor, Phil Bryant, speaking of whose mugshot I've not seen yet. He cannot indict anyone, but sure can brag on conviction when it suits his political ambitions. While it is indeed true he cannot indict in a court, an election ought to be a referendum to the incumbent. So in the court of public opinion, I indict Shad White for abusing the public trust by misusing his office to promote higher political ambitions. I indict Shad White for attacking sincere efforts of our universities to open their doors wide enough to include everyone. I indict Shad White for insulting the single-parent families of Mississippi with cheap political talk. And I indict Shad White for relishing the prosecution of small-time offenders while pleading impotent the race of the biggest wholesale theft of public money. I am Larry Bradford. I am ready to be your next state auditor. Vote Brad, not Shad. 2023, November the 7th, Mississippi. Let us hear your voice.